Once, in a city shadowed by crime, there lived a man named Marcus. In his youth, he was drawn into a life of violence and chaos. He made choices that led him down a dark path, surrounded by danger and distrust. The thrill of power and respect in the gang world blinded him to the consequences of his actions. Each decision he made pushed him deeper into the criminal underworld, where loyalty often meant bloodshed. Marcus was known as a sharpshooter, feared and respected by many. He believed that the only way to survive was to strike first and ask questions later. However, everything changed one fateful night when he found himself face to face with an opponent who posed no threat. Instead of pulling the trigger, Marcus hesitated and chose mercy, sparing the man's life. This choice haunted him but also planted a seed of doubt about his violent lifestyle. Eventually, Marcus sought redemption, wanting to bury his past. He moved to a quieter neighborhood, taking up honest work and striving to make amends for his earlier life. Each day was a struggle against the memories that tried to drag him back. He forged new friendships with people who had no idea of his history. Slowly but surely, he felt hope creeping into his heart for a better future, until that past came knocking at his door, ready to unleash old scores and threaten the life he had fought so hard to build. The night Marcus spared his opponent marked the beginning of a profound change within him. As he walked away from that confrontation, his heart raced, not from adrenaline but from the weight of his decision. In the following weeks, memories of that moment haunted him like a ghost. He replayed the look in the man's eyes, a mix of fear and gratitude, and it stirred something deep inside, an awakening. One chilly evening, as he sat alone in his small apartment, Marcus opened an old box filled with mementos from his past. Inside were photographs and letters from friends who had been lost to violence. Each picture told a story of missed opportunities and shattered dreams. That was when he realized how fragile life truly was. It hit him. He could either continue this cycle or turn his back on it forever. Inspired by a desire for redemption, Marcus began volunteering at a local community center. There, he met children who reminded him of himself, bright-eyed but at risk of falling into a life similar to his own. For the first time in years, he felt hope as he shared his story with them, hoping to guide them away from darkness. With each passing day, Marcus embraced this new path more fully. He found peace in making amends and connecting with others who sought to uplift their community. However, deep down, he knew that leaving his violent past behind would not be as simple as changing his routine. It would require constant vigilance against the shadows lurking just out of sight. As Marcus continued his journey toward redemption, he embraced the chance to build a new life marked by hope and purpose. His days at the community center became a source of joy and fulfillment. He spent countless hours mentoring young children, guiding them through homework, teaching them about teamwork, and sharing stories from his own life. Each smile he received made Marcus feel that he was finally contributing positively to the world. Along the way, he formed friendships with fellow volunteers who shared his passion for helping the community. They would gather after long days, chatting over coffee and discussing strategies for engaging the kids. These connections filled his life with a sense of belonging that had been absent during his time in the streets. The laughter they shared reminded him that life could be simple yet beautiful. Marcus also began participating in neighborhood events, organizing cleanup days and sports leagues for the children. He watched as friendships blossomed among the kids, seeing them enjoy life without fear or violence. In these moments, Marcus felt as if he were reclaiming lost pieces of himself while building a brighter future for those around him. Through these experiences, Marcus discovered personal growth that amazed him. He learned patience and resilience. He learned how to listen to others' struggles, and most importantly, he learned to forgive himself for his past mistakes. Despite lingering fears of what awaited him, there was a newfound strength within him that pushed him to keep moving forward, firmly dedicated to changing not just his own life, but also those around him. The memories of the night Marcus spared his opponent, a man named Victor, lingered in his mind like a recurring nightmare. Victor was known in the streets as a ruthless fighter, someone who had built a reputation on fear. During their fateful encounter, Victor had crossed paths with Marcus in a dark alley, both men armed and ready for violence. However, instead of ending Victor's life, Marcus saw something in his eyes, a flicker of vulnerability that stirred his conscience. Sparing Victor was not just an act of mercy. It was a moment that reflected Marcus's own struggle with morality. He remembered how Victor had pleaded for his life, sharing snippets of his own painful past. A tale of loss and betrayal that resonated with Marcus. In that fleeting moment, Marcus made a choice not out of weakness but out of a newfound desire to break the cycle of violence he had long embraced. Yet, letting Victor go proved to be a double-edged sword. Over time, Marcus realized that this act of compassion came with consequences. While he found peace in his new life, he couldn't shake the fear that Victor might still harbor resentment and seek revenge. The streets were small, word spread quickly, and now, as Marcus moved forward, he felt an unsettling rumble in his gut, the knowledge that his choice to spare Victor might one day return to haunt him. The unresolved tension between them lay thick in the air, waiting for the right moment to explode back into their lives. One evening, as Marcus walked home from the community center, he felt a sense of calm enveloping him. The streetlights flickered on, casting warm light over the neighborhood he had come to cherish. But then, a chill ran down his spine as he noticed a figure lingering in the shadows. His heart raced as he stepped closer, recognizing that unmistakable silhouette, Victor. Marcus stood frozen, his breath hitching. Victor's expression was darkened by anger and betrayal, and he stepped forward with an intensity that made Marcus instinctively take a step back. "You thought you could just walk away?" Victor's voice dripped with venom. "You let me live, Marcus, and I've paid for that decision ever since." The words cut deep, forcing Marcus to relive the moment he had chosen mercy over violence. He hadn't expected Victor to retaliate, to forge a new identity fueled by vengeance. Victor's presence was a stark reminder of his past, one that Marcus had thought he buried. As they faced each other under the unforgiving streetlight, tensions escalated. Victor's fists clenched as he recounted how his life spiraled downward after that fateful night. Lost respect, isolation from friends, and a thirst for retribution that consumed him. Marcus felt fear surge within him, but also a desperate urge to explain that mercy wasn't weakness. The atmosphere crackled with unresolved emotion as Victor challenged him, demanding acknowledgement of what had happened. In that heated moment, Marcus realized that his decision to spare Victor may not only threaten his newfound peace, but also force him to reckon with the violent world he had tried so hard to leave behind. In the dim light beneath the street lamp, the air crackled with tension as Marcus and Victor stood face to face. Marcus could see the fury in Victor's eyes, a fire fueled by resentment and a sense of betrayal. "You think you can just live your life while I've been rotting in shame?" Victor spat, his fists twitching at his sides. Each word was like a punch to Marcus's gut, reawakening old fears he thought he had buried. As they exchanged heated words, memories flooded back to Marcus. Memories of their lives intertwined in a world where violence was the norm. He remembered the camaraderie they once shared before everything spiraled into chaos. But now, that bond felt like a distant echo overshadowed by anger and regret. Victor's life had taken a downward turn after that night. His fall from grace was evident in every word he spoke. "Do you ever think about what you did to me?" Victor continued, his voice rising with each syllable. "You took my chance for respect. You made me weak." The accusation hung heavily between them, igniting a fire within Marcus. He wanted to explain that mercy was not weakness, that it was a choice made in hope of breaking the cycle of violence. But instead of words, silence filled the air. A silence thick with unspoken pain and unresolved conflict. The confrontation escalated, with both men grappling not just with their personal demons, but also with the reality that their pasts were now colliding in an explosive moment that neither could control. As the tension mounted, Marcus realized that their encounter might lead to irrevocable consequences for both of them, reigniting a violent clash he had desperately tried to escape. As Marcus walked away from the confrontation with Victor, his mind raced with thoughts and questions that refused to quiet. The once peaceful neighborhood he had embraced now felt like a ticking time bomb, ready to explode at any moment. Memories of his past loomed large, stark reminders of the choices he made in darker days. Had he truly left that life behind, or was it always destined to shadow him? Sitting on the edge of his bed, Marcus stared blankly at the wall. The weight of what had just happened pressed down on him. He recalled the adrenaline of those past nights spent in fear and violence, where every decision was made instinctively. But sparing Victor had been a pivotal moment, a chance to change that story. Yet now, with Victor's rage spilling over, Marcus felt doubt creeping in. Was mercy truly a strength, or had it unknowingly planted seeds for future turmoil? He thought of the children he mentored. Their bright smiles were a reminder of the hope he wanted to nurture. But doubts lingered in his heart like shadows that refused to fade. Could he guide them away from violence when he hadn't completely escaped his own? Each laugh from a child was mixed with echoes of gunshots and broken trust. Marcus knew he needed to confront these questions head-on. Only then could he find peace. But as long as Victor lingered in his life, he would have to grapple with whether true redemption was ever achievable or if his past was simply waiting to resurface at the worst possible moment. Determined to protect his new life and the children he cared for, Marcus knew he had to confront his past actions head-on. The anger in Victor's eyes haunted him, a constant reminder that the consequences of his choices were far from over. He could no longer afford to ignore the shadows lurking behind him. They threatened everything he had built: a fresh start, meaningful relationships, and the hope he had instilled in others. After a restless night, Marcus decided to face Victor directly, seeking an opportunity to break the cycle of anger that seemed to envelop them both. He arranged to meet Victor in a public space, understanding that this confrontation could either lead to resolution or further conflict. As he approached the designated spot, he felt a mixture of fear and resolve. "Victor," he called out, trying to keep his voice steady. "We need to talk." The tension was palpable as Victor emerged from the shadows, his expression still fierce but tinged with curiosity. Marcus took a deep breath and laid bare his own regrets. How sparing Victor had been an attempt at kindness that spiraled into fear for his future. "I didn't mean for things to end up like this," Marcus said earnestly. "I wanted to save you from that life, just like I'm trying to save these kids." He spoke not only for himself but for the children who deserved a chance at peace, a chance he had fought for. As they exchanged words filled with raw emotion, Marcus realized that true redemption required not just facing Victor, but also taking responsibility for the impact of his past on others. This fight was not only about defending himself. It was about ensuring that the cycle of violence could finally be broken for those who came after him. As Marcus and Victor stood face to face, the air between them felt charged, a palpable tension that suggested their confrontation had reached a critical juncture. Both men were on the brink. Their shared history weighed heavily upon them, filled with pain, regret, and the burden of choices long made. Victor's rage was a volcano waiting to erupt, yet perhaps what lay beneath that anger was desperation and a longing for understanding. "Why did you let me live?" Victor demanded, his voice shaking with emotion. "What did it cost you?" Marcus sensed that the answer to Victor's question lay not just in the act of mercy but in their intertwined fates. He realized that this was not just about self-protection. It was about confronting the darkness within himself. Taking a deep breath, Marcus replied, "I thought I could save you from the life I was trying to escape, but now, I see that kindness can sometimes lead to more pain." The vulnerability in Marcus's voice surprised even him, revealing the depth of his internal struggle. He knew he had to make a choice: continue down a path of conflict or extend a hand toward reconciliation. In that moment, Marcus made a decision. Instead of turning away or escalating the fight, he offered Victor an opportunity for change. "We both need to break free from this cycle. Let's find a way together." It was a gamble, one that could either redeem Marcus's life and heal old wounds or lead to disaster if Victor rejected his offer. Victor paused, caught off guard by Marcus's willingness to bridge the gap between them. They stood there, each man's fate hanging in the balance, as they faced not just each other but the paths their lives had taken. The resolution lay before them, a choice that could either shatter their futures or spark a path toward healing and redemption. In that pivotal moment, as Marcus extended his hand of reconciliation towards Victor, he felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The choice to offer forgiveness instead of seeking vengeance was not easy, but it was necessary for both men to heal. Victor hesitated, staring at the hand extended before him, the memories of their shared past swirling around them like a dense fog. Then, slowly, he reached out and grasped Marcus's hand, a tentative yet powerful gesture that signified the first step towards redemption for both. As they stood together, something shifted between them. The tension that had once seemed insurmountable began to dissipate, replaced by an unspoken understanding of their intertwined fates. For Victor, acceptance of Marcus's mercy cast a glimmer of hope on his path forward. For Marcus, this act solidified his commitment to breaking the cycle of violence that had plagued both their lives. Moving forward, Marcus knew that true redemption would be an ongoing journey full of challenges and reflection. He returned to the community center with renewed passion, sharing his story with the children he mentored. He vowed to teach them about the complexities of life choices, how every action could either build or destroy. As time passed, the scars from their dark pasts remained but no longer dictated their futures. Both men learned that redemption is not a destination but a continual process filled with choices that require courage and compassion. In embracing this truth, they discovered freedom not just for themselves but also for those they sought to protect and uplift, proving that even in the darkest moments, there is always room for healing and hope.